So good morning, everyone. Just to repeat again, I'm Suzie Hassan, the International Business Director for the Association of British Health Tech Industries. And I guess the perspective I'd like to bring this morning is about how we really consider the innovation landscape to be global. We recognise that it's really important to support UK innovation and businesses think about global connections, international partnerships and opportunities to thrive and grow while being based in the UK. Part of that isn't just about clinical trials and research. It goes from very important connections around early R&D all the way through to export and trade links and how we can support them access global markets. The ABHI international team has done a lot of groundwork in that area, and we're really proud of some of the connections and in the in-market relationships that we have built, really to be an enabler and facilitate links and connections for UK industry. So just a quick recap on who the ABHI are, and then I'll talk a little bit about those international partnerships just to stimulate some thought. So the ABHI is the membership organisation of the health technology industry. We're the leading trade association in the UK. We represent about 80% of the total sector value. We really focus on engaging and sort of advocating for industry in Parliament. We work a lot with government around being the voice really of health tech. Of course, a big emphasis on regulation and supporting industry navigate those challenges, and that's internationally, of course, as well. Deepening relationships with the NHS, but also the wider private healthcare sector in the UK. And critical, of course, is bringing them together in a meaningful way with stakeholders like yourselves in this room, supporting networking, thought leadership, and of course, trade and export. So about 80% of the membership is small, medium-sized businesses, but we, of course, have a significant membership that are large multinationals, many of which you will certainly recognise here on this slide. And that ranges from sort of large capital equipment through to surgical tech, digital technologies, of course. Diagnostics is a very big sector for us, as our core medical devices. So it's a full spectrum of health tech, and we're really proud to represent UK industry in its entirety. In terms of sort of priorities and key working areas, I guess a lot of what's been discussed today, we're really keen to support growth. You know, we have an interest in supporting that industry body grow and scale, and that doesn't just mean in the UK, although a lot of our work domestically obviously focuses on UK market access. So we look at broad spectrum about those challenges. We try and work on behalf of industry around what those complexities might be. For example, the sustainability and net zero agenda, that's quite challenging for some industry that are already producing technologies that might not be adhering to new legislation. So we do a lot of work to advocate and understand those challenges and present them back to government as well. But critical here is UK competitiveness, which we've discussed a bit today, and that's really where the international work grew, and the genesis of it absolutely is it's hard in the UK. The NHS is a challenging market. How do we grow international links to support businesses, expand and export and trade and engage overseas? And this is just a little bit about the why. So OLS produce life sciences competitive indicators annually. And this is just demonstrating, I think, a lot of what we've discussed today. There is significant government investment in R&D in the UK. There are a lot of support financially for businesses at the early research and development end of innovation, which is fantastic. But then I think when you compare this to actual global export of pharmaceutical products, it's quite different. So this is pharmaceuticals. We dropped down from second, just below the US, to 10th, and that's benchmarking the UK against global leaders. Medical technology is much the same. In fact, we're about 11th in that sort of ranking. So we're familiar with that rhetoric. We understand that there's a lot of perhaps investment in early research, innovation, generating wonderful ideas, but actually there's a real fall off in terms of supporting that export and that trade and really helping businesses grow. So what do those numbers look like? And I think this will be interesting to consider in context of the budget as of what this looks like next year. But there are about 7,000 life sciences businesses in total across the UK. And they're a huge income generator. It's a huge indicator for economic growth in the UK, generate jobs, opportunities, and of course, lots and lots of investment, which is fantastic. And health technology itself remains the largest subset underneath those numbers. So as the trade association representing these industries, how do we support this growth and how do we ensure that these businesses stay in the UK, but we are enabling those international links? So the international team or the international focus was set up really by our wonderful managing director, Paul Benton, who's here in the audience today, about 10 years or so ago. And it's really focused around these main areas. So we look a lot at international policy and trade relations. How do we engage with leaders across the world around enabling these links and making this easier for UK businesses to engage? We, of course, have an internal international trade group working with our industry partners around this activity, and we work closely with UK government, Department for Business and Trade and others on making this happen and aligning with their priority areas and markets. We do, of course, a lot of trade and promotional activities, exhibitions, intelligence networking, accelerator programs, which are really our flagship de-risking opportunities for UK industry. I won't go through the detail of all of these, but just to give you a bit of a flavour. This is a snapshot of the geographies we cover. So we have access into pretty much every continent on the planet, which is exciting. And we support UK businesses and healthcare organisations reach all these markets. Our flagship programme, which has been running for 8 years, is the US Accelerator. So we have really deep and rich connections in this market, which we're really proud of. And there's been lots of successes there I'll touch on briefly. But more recently, and in fact, I'm just back myself from Saudi Arabia, there's a lot of interest and focus on the Middle East. And we'll be launching an accelerator programme into that market next year. And that's answering both to demand from UK companies that want to access those markets, but also opportunity. It's one of the largest healthcare markets in the region, and there's a lot of support and advocacy from government to engage in that part of the world. So just briefly, the US Accelerator has been running for 8 years. So this is a sort of state-by-state wide programme where we support a select number of UK businesses out and access market. It's been incredibly successful, and what we're really pleased to do on that programme is bring out NHS hospitals and trusts, clinicians and key opinion leaders from across the UK on those missions to really advocate for UK PLC and UK as a market. It's very, very important that it's not just UK businesses selling products to these health systems. It's all about relations and developing much more meaningful engagement. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful success story. Just some numbers, really. So it's absolutely generating business for these companies. There's been a lot of successes over the years, but critically as well, we are developing clinical trials off the back of this programme. We are supporting R&D relationships and opportunities for industry partners. We engage, of course, with lots of healthcare councils and economic development agencies, so it's all about those trade relations, as I discussed earlier. And we're really pleased that generally the companies are all very, very happy with the programme. So we want to enrich that and we want to grow that, and we're hopefully going to mirror that programme into the Middle East. So that's really a summary of what I wanted to say, but ultimately we're doing this work and we want to be an enabler and facilitate links for all of you really in this room. So I'm pleased to be here and offer some reflections on what that international piece looks like, but delighted to have discussions, as will Paul be at any point today, but thank you.
The Harley Street Health District, the home of healthcare since 1860.